A lonely millionaire finds a girl sleeping among boxes at the gates of a frozen cemetery. When she shows him an old photograph, he recognizes in the image the woman who left him years ago. In shock, he decides to take her home, without imagining that this choice would change everything. Days later, a patient with no memory begins to draw a child, and an impossible reunion seems about to happen. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us what city you're watching us from. We'll keep going. The bitter December wind cut through Manhattan's concrete canyons like shards of glass. Ethan Blackwood pulled his cashmere coat tighter as he left the gleaming office tower that housed Blackwood Capital Partners. At 43, he had achieved everything society defined as success. CEO of his own investment firm, a portfolio worth billions, and a reputation that opened every door on Wall Street. Yet as his Italian leather shoes crunched through the fresh snow, the only sound accompanying him was the hollow echo of solitude. His penthouse on Fifth Avenue awaited him with its minimalist furnishings, spectacular skyline views, and profound emptiness. Another night of takeout, eaten over spreadsheets. Another glass of 30-year-old scotch sipped in silence. Ethan checked his watch, nearly midnight. The board meeting had run long, with tensions rising over a particularly aggressive acquisition. His suggestion had prevailed, as it always did. No one at Blackwood Capital dared challenge him anymore. He'd built his reputation on being ruthlessly right. Tonight he took a different route home, detouring through an older part of the city. He couldn't explain why. Perhaps to avoid the Christmas decorations adorning his usual path, bright reminders of a holiday he hadn't properly celebrated in years. The sidewalks were mostly deserted, New Yorkers having retreated from the Arctic, blast sweeping down from Canada. Weather reports predicted the worst winter storm in a decade. Already the snow was accumulating faster than the city's salt trucks could manage. As he passed the wrought iron gates of Trinity Cemetery, a flicker of movement caught his eye. At first, he assumed it was just a piece of trash caught in the wind, but something made him slow his steps. Between two large recycling bins tucked against the cemetery wall, a small fort of cardboard boxes had been arranged. A child-sized hand quickly pulled back a flap, disappearing inside. Ethan stopped. Someone was living there in this brutal cold. He should call social services, he should keep walking. He had an early meeting tomorrow. This wasn't his problem, yet his feet carried him toward the makeshift shelter. "Hello?" he called, crouching down. No response. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said, his breath forming clouds in the freezing air. "But it's dangerous to be out in this weather." Slowly, a small face appeared in the opening. A girl, perhaps 7 or 8 years old, with large hazel eyes and tangled brown hair. Her cheeks were reddened from the cold, her thin jacket clearly inadequate against the winter night. "Where are your parents?" Ethan asked, his business instincts immediately assessing the situation. "Do you need help?" The girl regarded him cautiously. "My mom's coming back. She went to get medicine." "When did she leave?" The girl shrugged. "Yesterday, I think." Ethan's stomach tightened. "Yesterday? You've been here alone since yesterday?" She nodded, then added defensively, "She told me to wait. She's coming back." The temperature was dropping by the hour. This child wouldn't survive another night outdoors. "What's your name?" he asked. "Emma," she replied, hugging herself for warmth. "I'm Ethan. Listen, Emma, we need to get you somewhere warm. The police can help find your mother." Emma's eyes widened with fear. "No police. Mom said never to talk to police. They'll take me away." The girl's reaction raised red flags in Ethan's mind. What was this mother hiding from? "Do you have any other family? Someone I could call?" Emma shook her head, then hesitated. From inside her jacket, she carefully withdrew a crumpled photograph, protective of it despite her predicament. "This is my mom," she said, holding it up. Ethan took the photo, and in that moment, the carefully constructed walls of his life crumbled. The world tilted beneath his feet, and he had to place one hand on the frozen ground to steady himself. The woman in the photograph was Olivia Taylor. 10 years ago, Olivia had been a promising junior analyst at his firm. Their relationship had been intense, passionate, and ultimately catastrophic. When she'd challenged his business ethics during a crucial deal, he'd seen it as betrayal. The argument that followed had been devastating, ending with him telling her to get out of his life. She had disappeared so completely, he'd assumed she'd left New York altogether. Now he was looking at her face again, slightly older, but unmistakable. And beside her, with that same defiant smile, was Emma. He studied the child's face with new awareness, the shape of her eyes, the determined set of her jaw. They were reflections of his own. The timing would be right. Emma would have been conceived right around the time Olivia left. "Emma," he said, his voice uncharacteristically unsteady. "Your mother, is her name Olivia?" The girl's eyes widened. "How did you know?" "I knew her, a long time ago." He handed back the photograph. "How old are you, Emma?" 9 and a quarter, she replied with the precision children reserve for their age. 9 years, the math was undeniable. This child, this girl shivering in the cold, was almost certainly his daughter. Ethan's mind raced through the implications. Had Olivia known she was pregnant when she left? Why hadn't she told him? Where was she now? And what was he supposed to do with this child, his child, who had appeared from nowhere on the coldest night of the year? One thing was certain. He couldn't leave her here. "Emma, I have an apartment nearby. It's warm and there's food. You can stay there while we figure out how to find your mother." She looked at him suspiciously. "Mum says never go with strangers." "Your mother is right," Ethan said, "but I'm not exactly a stranger. I was friend of your mum's." The inadequacy of the word friend hung in the frigid air between them. Emma considered this, shivering violently now. "Do you have hot chocolate?" Despite everything, Ethan smiled. "I can arrange for hot chocolate." After a moment's deliberation, Emma nodded and began gathering her meager possessions. The photo, a worn backpack, and a tattered stuffed rabbit. As they walked toward Fifth Avenue, the snow falling heavier now, Ethan sent a text to his assistant. "Cancel all meetings tomorrow. Family emergency." The phrase felt foreign as he typed it. Family. A concept that hadn't applied to him since his parents passed away years ago. His doorman's eyebrows shot up when Ethan entered with a disheveled child, but he was too professional to comment. In the private elevator ascending to the penthouse, Emma pressed her face against the glass, watching the city lights grow smaller below. "You live all the way up in the sky?" she asked. "I do," Ethan replied, suddenly seeing his home through new eyes, not as the achievement it represented, but as the sterile, unwelcoming space it actually was. When the elevator doors opened directly into his apartment, Emma gasped. The vast open space, with its floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing the snowstorm enveloping Manhattan, looked like something from another world compared to her cardboard shelter. "Are you rich?" she asked bluntly, in the way only children can. "Some people would say so," Ethan answered, helping her remove her damp jacket. While Emma explored the apartment with cautious curiosity, Ethan ordered hot chocolate and food from the 24-hour service that catered to wealthy insomniacs. Then he called his lawyer, stepping onto the terrace despite the cold to ensure Emma wouldn't overhear. "I need you to find someone," he said without preamble. "Olivia Taylor used to work for me about 10 years ago, and I need it done discreetly." Very discreetly. When he returned inside, Emma was standing before the wall of windows, her breath fogging the glass as she watched the snow swirl in the night sky. The vastness of the city stretched before her, a constellation of lights in the darkness. "Is my mom out there somewhere?" she asked without turning around. Ethan joined her at the window, maintaining a respectful distance. "I believe so, and we're going to find her." Emma nodded, then looked up at him with eyes that mirrored his own. "You really knew my mom?" "Yes," Ethan said, the weight of the past decade settling on his shoulders, "and I should have never let her go." Morning light filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Ethan's penthouse, casting long shadows across the polished concrete floors. He hadn't slept. After settling Emma in the guest bedroom, a space that had never actually hosted a guest, he'd spent the night alternating between making calls and staring at the ceiling. trying to process the seismic shift in his reality. Emma emerged from the bedroom around 7, clutching her stuffed rabbit. She'd slept in the oversized t-shirt he'd provided, which hung to her knees like a nightgown. Her hair was a tangled mess, her eyes wary as she surveyed the unfamiliar territory of morning in this strange place. "Good morning," Ethan said, attempting a warmth he rarely had occasion to use. "Are you hungry?" Emma nodded, approaching the kitchen island with caution. Ethan realized with a pang that his refrigerator contained little more than protein shakes, craft beer, and expired condiments. His pantry wasn't much better. Coffee, protein bars, and a few dusty spice jars. "I usually eat out," he explained, embarrassed by the inadequacy of his home for a child. "But I've ordered some breakfast. It should be here soon." As if on cue, the elevator chimed. But instead of the expected food delivery, Victoria Chen, Ethan's executive assistant for the past 5 years, stepped into the apartment carrying several shopping bags. "You said family emergency," Victoria said, setting down the bags and regarding Emma with obvious surprise. "I took the liberty of bringing some essentials." Her tone was professional, but Ethan didn't miss the questions in her eyes. "Thank you, Victoria. This is Emma," Ethan said. "She'll be staying with me for a while." Victoria smiled at the girl. "Nice to meet you, Emma. I brought some clothes that might fit you, some basic toiletries, and a few groceries." She turned to Ethan. "Your 10 o'clock called. I rescheduled for next week." "Cancel everything for the rest of the week," Ethan said, making a decision on the spot. "And find me the best private investigator in the city discreetly." Victoria's eyebrows rose slightly, but she simply nodded. "Of course, anything else?" Ethan glanced at Emma, who was examining the contents of the shopping bags with interest. "We'll need kid things. Whatever 9-year-olds need." "I'll take care of it," Victoria said, her efficiency unrattled even by this unusual request. "And the breakfast you ordered is on its way up." After Victoria left and they had eaten, Emma devouring pancakes like she hadn't had a proper meal in days, which Ethan feared might be the case, they faced the awkwardness of two strangers forced into sudden cohabitation. "So," Ethan said, clearing his throat, "we should probably talk about what happens next." Emma set down her fork. "Are you going to call the police?" "No," Ethan assured her. "But I am trying to find your mother. I have people who can help with that." Emma's face brightened. "So I can go home soon?" The question stabbed at Ethan. Home. Where was that for her? Not here in this austere monument to success that he'd built, but probably not wherever she'd been living with Olivia either, if they'd ended up sheltering in cardboard boxes. "I hope so," he said carefully. "In the meantime, you'll stay here where it's safe and warm, but I need to ask you some questions about your mum to help us find her." Emma's expression grew guarded again. She said we had to be careful. "People were looking for us." "What kind of people?" Ethan asked gently. "Bad people, people who wanted money." She fidgeted with her stuffed rabbit. "We moved a lot. Mum used different names sometimes. Debt collectors? Loan sharks? What had Olivia gotten herself into? And why hadn't she come to him for help, even if only for Emma's sake? Where were you living before your mother went to get medicine?" "A motel," Emma said. "The Blue Pine. But before that, we stayed with Ms. Reyes for a while." "Who is Ms. Reyes?" "A nice lady. She let us stay in her basement and didn't tell anyone. She watched me when Mom had to work nights." Each answer revealed more questions, sketching a picture of a life lived in shadows, always one step ahead of some unnamed threat. It was a far cry from the brilliant, principled woman he'd known, the woman who'd walked out of his office with her head held high, refusing to compromise her values even at the cost of her career. "Emma, do you know why your mother came to this part of the city?" The girl hesitated, then reached into the pocket of her jacket, which lay draped over a chair. She pulled out a crumpled piece of paper and handed it to Ethan. It was an address, his address, written in Olivia's distinctive handwriting. "She said we were going to see someone important," Emma explained. "Someone who could help us, but then she got sick and she went to find medicine first." Ethan stared at the paper, his throat tight. After all these years, Olivia had been coming to him, not for herself, but for their daughter. "I think," he said carefully, "that person might have been me." Emma studied him with those hazel eyes that were so like his own. "Why would you help us? Mom never talked about you." The simple question landed like a blow. "Because," he paused, uncertain how much to reveal, "because your mother and I used to be close, and because I think, Emma, I think I might be your father." The words hung in the air between them, monumental and fragile. Emma's expression was unreadable, her young mind processing information that would be overwhelming for an adult. "I have a dad?" she finally asked, her voice small. "It seems that way," Ethan replied, equally quiet. "Did you know about me?" "No," he admitted. "I didn't, and I'm sorry about that." Emma nodded slowly, absorbing this. Then, with the resilience of childhood, she shifted focus. "Does this mean I have to live here now?" "We'll figure everything out once we find your mother," Ethan assured her. "For now, yes, you'll stay here with me." The elevator chimed again, this time delivering several more bags and boxes, Victoria's efficiency in action. Among the items were clothes, books, art supplies, and even a tablet preloaded with games and educational apps. As Emma cautiously explored these new possessions, Ethan's phone rang. It was Jackson Reed, the private investigator Victoria had engaged. "Mr. Blackwood, I understand you need a discreet search conducted." "Yes," Ethan confirmed, stepping onto the terrace despite the cold. "I'm looking for a woman named Olivia Taylor. She has a 9-year-old daughter named Emma, who's currently with me. They were staying at the Blue Pine Motel recently, but Olivia has been missing for at least 2 days." "Any reason to suspect foul play?" Reed asked. "I don't know," Ethan admitted. "Her daughter says she went to get medicine and never returned. Apparently they've been living under the radar, possibly hiding from creditors. I need to find her quickly, and I need absolute discretion." "Understood. I'll start with hospitals and the motel. Does the daughter have any other details about her mother's recent activities, places she frequented, people she met with?" Ethan glanced through the window at Emma, who was carefully arranging her few possessions on the coffee table. "I'll ask her, but handle this carefully, Reed. This is personal." After ending the call, Ethan watched Emma for a moment. Her methodical organization of her meager belongings spoke of a child accustomed to packing up and moving at a moment's notice. Despite the trauma of her situation, there was a self-sufficiency about her that children her age shouldn't need to have. Returning inside, he sat down across from her. "Emma, I'm going to need your help to find your mom. Can you tell me about the last few days before she disappeared? Where did she go? Who did she talk to?" Emma considered the questions seriously. She was working at a restaurant called Bella's, washing dishes at night, and sometimes she cleaned offices early in the morning. "Did she have friends, anyone she trusted?" "Not really," Emma said, her small fingers tracing the worn ear of her stuffed rabbit. "She said we couldn't trust anyone." She looked up at him suddenly. "If you're my dad, why weren't you with us? Why didn't you help us?" The directness of the question struck Ethan speechless for a moment. How could he explain to a child the complexities of adult pride, the way a single argument had severed what should have been unbreakable? How could he tell her that her mother had kept her existence a secret from him? "I didn't know about you," he said finally. "Your mother and I, we had a disagreement a long time ago. We stopped speaking to each other. If I had known about you, things would have been very different." Emma seemed to accept this, though Ethan wasn't sure she fully understood. "Mom kept your picture," she said unexpectedly, "in her special box. She looked at it sometimes when she thought I was asleep." This revelation hit Ethan like a physical blow. Despite everything, Olivia had kept his photograph, had thought of him, and now she had been coming to find him when she vanished. "We're going to find her," he promised with more certainty than he felt. "And then we'll figure everything out." Emma nodded, then returned to arranging her possessions. The photograph of Olivia, the stuffed rabbit, a small collection of polished stones, and a tattered paperback of The Secret Garden. Watching her, Ethan felt a surreal dissonance between the life he'd built, structured, controlled, solitary, And this new reality where a child's needs suddenly took precedence over everything else. His phone buzzed with a text from Reed. Checking hospitals now. Need the girl's full name and DOB for school record search. Ethan realized with a jolt that he didn't even know his daughter's full name or when she was born. The magnitude of his absence from her life hit him anew. Emma, he said gently. What's your full name and when is your birthday? She looked up at him, those familiar eyes assessing. Emma Grace Taylor. I was born on April 22nd. April 22nd. Ethan felt the date imprint itself on his heart. A day that should have changed his life, but had passed unmarked year after year while he built his empire of wealth and emptiness. Thank you, he said, typing the information to Reed. Then, on impulse, he added, would you like to help me make your room more comfortable? We could pick out some things online. Emma's face brightened slightly. Can I have stars on the ceiling? In our old apartment, Mom put glow-in-the-dark stars above my bed. Absolutely, Ethan said, his throat tightening. We can have all the stars you want. 3 days passed with no sign of Olivia. 3 days in which Ethan's life transformed completely, his precisely calibrated routine giving way to the unpredictable rhythms of caring for a child. Emma remained quiet and watchful, as if waiting for this temporary arrangement to dissolve like all the others in her young life. Ethan found himself learning to navigate unfamiliar territory, preparing simple meals, establishing a bedtime routine, and addressing the practical matters of a child's existence. Victoria had arranged for a tutor to assess Emma's education level, discovering that despite her transient lifestyle, she was remarkably bright and only slightly behind in mathematics. On the 4th morning, Ethan was attempting to style Emma's hair, a task for which his Wharton MBA had thoroughly failed to prepare him, when Jackson Reed called. I've located the Blue Pine Motel, Reed reported, ran by a couple named Martinez. They remember Olivia. Hand Emma Taylor. Said they checked out suddenly, paid in cash. When exactly? 5 days ago. But here's where it gets interesting. They left most of their belongings behind. The Martinezes kept everything, thinking they might come back. Ethan's hands stilled in Emma's hair. I need to see those belongings. Already arranged, they'll be delivered to your building this afternoon. I've also checked every hospital in a 20-mile radius. No Olivia Taylor admitted in the last week. She might have used a different name, Ethan suggested, remembering Emma's comments about her mother using aliases. Thought of that. I've been checking Jane Doe's and admissions with no ID. So far, nothing matches her description. Ethan glanced at Emma, who was patiently enduring his amateur hairstyling attempts. Keep looking, and check if she filled any prescriptions recently. Her daughter mentioned she went for medicine. After ending the call, Ethan finished Emma's hair, a lopsided ponytail that he was unreasonably proud of, and prepared breakfast. The refrigerator was now stocked with child-appropriate foods, the pantry filled with cereals and snacks that Victoria had ordered. Emma, he said as they ate, some of your things from the motel are being brought here today. That might help us figure out where your mom went. Emma nodded, pushing her cereal around in the bowl. Are we going to find her soon? The hope in her voice made Ethan's chest ache. We're doing everything we can. What if we don't? She asked, the question hanging in the air between them. Ethan reached across the table, covering her small hand with his. Then we'll figure things out together. I promise you won't be alone. The moment was interrupted by a call from Ethan's CFO, reminding him of a major client meeting he'd postponed. For 10 years, Ethan had lived and breathed Blackwood Capital. Now, for the first time, the firm's concerns seemed secondary to the little girl sitting across from him. Reschedule it, he said, watching Emma carefully place her bowl in the dishwasher, and have legal draw-up paperwork for a temporary leave of absence. Later that afternoon, a cardboard box arrived from the Blue Pine Motel. Emma watched anxiously as Ethan opened it on the coffee table. Inside were clothes, some children's books, a folder of school papers, and a smaller wooden box intricately carved. That's Mum's special box, Emma said, reaching for it. The box was locked, but Emma knew where the key was hidden, taped inside one of the books. When she opened it, Ethan glimpsed photographs, letters, and small mementos. "Can I see?" he asked gently. Emma hesitated, then nodded. Inside, Ethan found evidence of the life he'd missed. Emma's birth certificate, listing him as the father. Her first lock of hair, a hospital bracelet marked baby girl Taylor. And beneath these artifacts of early childhood, a velvet pouch. Emma reached for it. "That's the one with your picture." Inside the pouch was indeed a photograph of Ethan, taken during happier times, a candid shot from a rare weekend away, his expression relaxed in a way it seldom was anymore. Beside it was an unsent letter addressed to him, dated 3 years earlier. "May I?" Ethan asked, indicating the letter. Emma shrugged. "I don't know what it says. Mum never showed me." Ethan unfolded the letter with unsteady hands, recognizing Olivia's handwriting immediately. "Ethan," it began, "it's been 6 years since I walked away, 6 years of raising our daughter alone, of wondering if I made the right choice in not telling you about her. Emma asks about her father now. I tell her you live far away, that you can't be with us. It's easier than explaining the truth, that pride and principles drove us apart, that we were both too stubborn to bend." Ethan had to stop reading for a moment, overcome by the weight of time lost. "I've thought about contacting you 1,000 times, the letter continued. "Not for myself, but for Emma. She deserves more than this life I've given her, always moving, always hiding. She deserves stability, security, all the things I can't provide. But every time I imagine showing up at your office with our daughter in tow, I remember the coldness in your eyes that last day. How could I be sure you'd even believe she's yours? How could I risk Emma facing that rejection?" The letter ended with a plea. "If you're reading this, it means I've finally found the courage to reach out. All I ask is that you look at Emma, really look at her, and you'll see yourself. Whatever happens between us, please don't punish her for my choices or yours." Ethan carefully refolded the letter, his vision blurred. The Olivia who wrote this was still the woman he remembered, proud, principled, and fiercely protective of those she loved. But she had been ready to set aside that pride for Emma's sake. And now she was missing. "Did you find anything helpful?" Emma asked, peering at him. "Yes," Ethan said, collecting himself. "Your mother was very brave and loved you very much." Emma nodded, as if this was obvious. "She said we were going to have a better life soon. That's why we were coming to see you." The simplicity of her trust, in her mother and now cautiously in him, struck Ethan deeply. This child had endured years of instability, yet maintained an underlying resilience that humbled him. "Emma," he said carefully, "did your mother ever mention anyone she was afraid of? Anyone who might have been looking for her?" Emma frowned in concentration. She was scared of the money people, and sometimes she would see someone she knew and make us hide or go another way. "Money people? Like banks?" "I don't know. Just people who wanted money from her. She said they were dangerous. Loan sharks maybe, or worse." The thought of Olivia caught in such a web made Ethan's blood boil. If someone had harmed her, his phone rang. "Read again." "I've got something," the investigator said without preamble. "Brooklyn Methodist Hospital admitted a Jane Doe 5 days ago. Hit and run accident. No ID, unconscious on arrival. Female, early 40s, matches Taylor's general description." Ethan's heart raced. "What's her condition?" "Stable now, but she was unconscious for several days. The hospital says she's experiencing memory issues. They're trying to identify her." "I'll be there in 30 minutes, Ethan said, already moving. "Arrange whatever is necessary for a positive ID." After ending the call, he turned to Emma, who was watching him with wide, hopeful eyes. "They might have found your mum," he said carefully. "She's in a hospital. She was in an accident, but she's going to be okay." "Can I see her?" Emma asked, already jumping up. "Not yet," Ethan said gently. "I need to go make sure it's really her first, and she might be different. The doctors say she's having trouble with her memory." Emma's face fell. "She won't remember me." "She might not remember some things right away," Ethan explained, kneeling to her level. "But if it's your mom, we'll help her remember. Love doesn't just disappear even when memories get mixed up." While he arranged for Victoria to stay with Emma, Ethan tried to manage his own expectations. This might not be Olivia, and if it was, There was no telling what condition she might be in, or how she would react to seeing him after all these years. The drive to Brooklyn Methodist seemed interminable. Reed met him in the lobby, briefing him as they walked to the 4th floor. She was found at the intersection of Atlantic and Flatbush. No identification. Witnesses say she was crossing the street when a delivery van struck her. Driver didn't stop. She had a severe concussion, broken ribs, fractured wrist, been in and out of consciousness for days. At the nurse's station, Reed introduced Ethan as a potential family member of their Jane Doe. A doctor joined them, her expression serious. "Mr. Blackwood, I understand you might be able to identify our patient. I should warn you, she's experiencing retrograde amnesia, gaps in her memory of events before the accident. This is often temporary with concussions, but recovery varies case by case." "Has she said anything about herself?" Ethan asked. "Any names or details?" "Very little. She seems confused about recent events, but some older memories appear intact. She's mentioned working in finance, living in Manhattan, and she's repeatedly asked about someone named Emma, though she can't articulate who that is." Ethan's heart leapt. "Emma is her daughter, our daughter." The doctor nodded, making a note. "That fits with her agitation. She seems to know she's forgotten something important. If you are indeed connected to her, seeing you might help trigger memories." She led Ethan to a private room at the end of the hall. Through the door's window, he could see a woman lying in bed, her face turned toward the window, dark hair spread across the pillow. Even in profile, he knew it was Olivia. 10 years had changed her. Fine lines at the corners of her eyes, a new gravity to her expression, but he would have known her anywhere. The sight of her pale and connected to monitors sent a wave of emotion through him so powerful he had to steady himself against the wall. "Take a moment if you need to," the doctor said, misinterpreting his reaction. "Seeing loved ones in hospital settings can be overwhelming." Loved ones. Was that still what they were to each other? After a decade of silence, recrimination, and separate lives, Ethan gathered himself. "I'm ready." The doctor opened the door. "Ms. Doe, there's someone here who might know you." Olivia turned from the window, her gaze landing on Ethan. For one breathtaking moment, recognition flickered in her eyes, then confusion, uncertainty. "Do I know you?" she asked, her voice hoarse from disuse. Ethan stepped closer, his throat tight. "Yes," he said. "My name is Ethan Blackwood. We knew each other a long time ago." She studied him, frustration evident in her expression. "I feel like I should remember you." "It's okay," Ethan said, taking the chair beside her bed. "The doctor says your memory will likely return in time. They tell me I was in an accident, that I've been here for days." Her hand went to her temple where a bandage covered a healing wound. "Everything feels foggy, like I'm trying to see through water." "You're safe now," Ethan assured her. "And you're not alone anymore?" Something in his voice made her look at him more intently. "We weren't just acquaintances, were we?" "No," Ethan admitted. "We were important to each other once." She nodded slowly, processing this. Then her expression sharpened with sudden clarity. "Emma," she said. "I need to find Emma. She's waiting for me. She's alone." "Emma is safe," Ethan said quickly, taking her hand. "She's with me. She's been staying in my home since the accident." Olivia stared at him, her breathing quickening. "Emma is with you. You know about Emma." "I found her 4 days ago," Ethan explained. "She was waiting for you near Trinity Cemetery. She had your photograph and my address." Tears filled Olivia's eyes. "I remember now. I was taking her to see you. I was sick, a fever, and I needed medicine. I left her hidden, told her to wait." Her hands clutched at the blanket. "I abandoned my daughter in the cold. What kind of mother does that?" "You were trying to protect her," Ethan said firmly. "And she's fine. She's strong and smart and resilient, like her mother." A tear slipped down Olivia's cheek. "You know she's yours?" "I suspected as soon as I saw her," Ethan said. Then I found her birth certificate in your things from the motel. Olivia closed her eyes briefly. I should have told you. I was going to that day, but then we fought, and you told me to get out of your life. She met his gaze directly. I was too proud to come back, to make you think I was using the pregnancy to manipulate you. So I left New York, had Emma in Chicago, started over. Why did you come back? Why now after all these years? Olivia's expression clouded. I'm not sure. There was a reason, something important. She pressed her fingers to her temples. Why can't I remember? Don't push yourself, Ethan advised. The doctor says your memories will return gradually. She nodded, then asked the question he'd been dreading. How is she? Emma? Is she angry? With me? She's worried about you, Ethan answered honestly. But she's remarkably adaptable. She's been helping me learn how to be a father in record time. A small smile touched Olivia's lips. I've imagined that 1,000 times. You and Emma together. The smile faded. In my imagination, the circumstances were better. Mine too, Ethan admitted. But we're here now, and when you're well enough, Emma can visit, then we'll figure out next steps. Olivia's eyes drifted closed, fatigue evident in her face. I'm so tired, but I'm afraid if I sleep, I'll forget again. I'll be here when you wake up, Ethan promised, and I'll help you remember. As Olivia drifted into sleep, Ethan remained by her side, watching the rise and fall of her chest, the familiar profile that had haunted his dreams for a decade. The woman before him was both the Olivia he remembered and someone entirely new, shaped by years of struggle he could only begin to imagine. One thing was certain. He wouldn't let her face those struggles alone again. Whatever had driven her, to seek him out after all this time, whatever danger might still be pursuing her, they would confront it together. For Emma's sake. And perhaps, if they were brave enough, for their own. Ethan returned to his penthouse late that evening, emotionally, drained yet strangely energized. Emma was still awake, waiting for him despite Victoria's best efforts to enforce a reasonable bedtime. Her eyes sought his face the moment he stepped off the elevator, searching for answers. Did you find her? She asked, her voice small but steady. Ethan sat beside her on the couch. Yes, Emma, I found your mom. Her face lit, up, then faltered. Is she okay? Why didn't you bring her home? She needs to stay in the hospital a little longer, Ethan explained carefully. She was in an accident. A car hit her when she was crossing the street. The doctors are helping her get better. Emma absorbed this, her young mind processing the implications. Does she remember me? The question pierced Ethan's heart. Of course she remembers you, he assured her, but the accident affected her memory a little. Some things might be fuzzy for her right now, but the doctor says that's temporary. When can I see her? Tomorrow, Ethan promised. I've already arranged it with the hospital, but I want you to be prepared. She has some bruises and cuts, and she might be confused about some things. Emma nodded solemnly. I'll help her remember. The simple conviction in her voice moved Ethan deeply. This child, who had endured so much uncertainty, still maintained an unshakable faith in the power of love and connection. After Victoria left and Emma was finally asleep, surrounded by the glow-in-the-dark stars they'd applied to her ceiling that afternoon, Ethan poured himself a scotch and stood before the windows, watching the city lights below. His mind replayed the surreal day, still struggling to reconcile the Olivia of his memories with the vulnerable woman in the hospital bed. His phone rang. Jackson Reed. Mr. Blackwood, I've been digging deeper into Ms. Taylor's situation as requested. Found something concerning. Ethan tensed. Go on. She's been living under at least 3 different names in the past 5 years. Moved between Chicago, Philadelphia, and finally back to New York about 8 months ago. And she's been making regular payments to someone. Cash withdrawals on buy. The same day each month, ranging from $2,000 to $3,000. Blackmail, Ethan suggested, his grip tightening on the phone. Possibly, or some kind of debt with steep interest. I traced her employment history. Series of service jobs, always paid under the table. Never anything that would utilize her. Financial background or education. As if she was deliberately staying off the grid, Ethan mused. Exactly. And there's more. 3 weeks ago, she made a large withdrawal from a safety deposit box in Queens. Nearly $50,000, according to bank records. Ethan frowned. Where would she get that kind of money? That's what I'm trying to determine. The safety deposit box was opened 6 years ago, shortly after she left Chicago. Regular deposits since then, all cash. Emergency fund, Ethan theorized. She was saving for something, or preparing to run again. There's one more thing, Reed said, his tone grave. The night before her accident, someone broke into her room at the Blue Pine Motel. The Martinezes didn't mention it initially because they assumed Olivia and Emma had simply left without checking out. But when I pressed them, they admitted finding the room in disarray, the lock forced. Ethan's blood ran cold. Someone was looking for her or for something she had. Seems likely. And they might still be looking. Ethan glanced toward Emma's bedroom door, a protective instinct surging through him. I want security on my building doubled, and I want a guard outside Olivia's hospital room 24/7. Already arranged the hospital security, Reed said. I'll handle the building detail. In the meantime, I'm continuing to track these monthly payments, see if I can identify the recipient. After ending the call, Ethan checked on Emma once more. She slept peacefully, one arm wrapped around her tattered stuffed rabbit. The sight of her, this child who was undeniably his, yet a complete stranger until days ago, filled him with a fierce determination. Whatever trouble Olivia was in, whatever shadows had been pursuing them, ended now. He had the resources to ensure their safety, to give Emma the stability she deserved. The next morning, Ethan helped Emma select an outfit for her hospital visit, a process that revealed how few proper clothes she actually owned. The items Victoria had purchased were practical basics, but Emma treated them like treasures, carefully deliberating between a purple sweater and a blue one as if it were the most important decision in the world. Do you think Mom will like this one? She asked, holding up the purple sweater. I think she'll love it, Ethan assured her, swallowing the lump in his throat. The eagerness in Emma's face, her desire to please her mother after everything they'd been through, was humbling. On the drive to Brooklyn Methodist, Emma grew increasingly quiet, staring out the window at the passing cityscape. Ethan had hired a car service, unwilling to subject her to the subway during morning rush hour. Are you nervous? He asked gently. Emma nodded. What if she's different? What if she doesn't want to come home with us? The key simplicity of the question, us, didn't escape Ethan. In just a few days, Emma had begun to include him in her concept of home and family. Your mum loves you more than anything, he said. The most important thing hasn't changed, even if other things have. At the hospital, Ethan introduced Emma to Dr. Patel, who had been overseeing Olivia's care. Your mother has been asking for you, the doctor told Emma with a warm smile. Her memory is still coming back in pieces, but she remembers you very clearly. Emma nodded, clutching Ethan's hand tighter. He could feel her trembling slightly as they approached Olivia's room. Ready? He asked. Emma took a deep breath and nodded. The woman who looked up when they entered was a marked improvement from the day before. Olivia was sitting up in bed, her dark hair brushed, some color returned to her cheeks. Her eyes fixed immediately on Emma, filling with tears. Emma, she breathed, arms opening. Emma hesitated only a fraction of a second before running to the bed and throwing herself into her mother's embrace. Olivia held her tightly, murmuring endearments and apologies, her eyes closed as if memorizing the feel of her daughter in her arms. Ethan hung back, giving them this moment of reunion. The sight of them together, the two people who should have been part of his life all these years, created a complicated ache within him. I was so scared, Emma was saying, her face buried in her mother's shoulder. I waited and waited. No, baby, I'm so sorry. Olivia stroked her daughter's hair. I never meant to leave you alone. I would never abandon you. Emma pulled back to study her mother's face. Ethan found me. He took care of me. Did you know he's my dad? Olivia's eyes met Ethan's over Emma's head, a world of unspoken history and emotion passing between them. Yes, she said softly. I've always known. He has a really big apartment, Emma continued, with windows all the way to the ceiling, and he put stars on my bedroom ceiling just like you used to do. A small smile touched Olivia's lips. Did he? That was thoughtful of him. And Victoria, that's his assistant, she bought me new clothes and books and art supplies, and we've been looking for you every day. As Emma chattered on, Ethan observed the play of emotions across Olivia's face, relief, gratitude, and something else. Wariness, perhaps, or guilt. Eventually, Emma's energy flagged and she curled up beside Olivia on the narrow hospital bed. Dr. Patel had arranged for a child psychologist to speak with Emma while Ethan and Olivia talked privately, and a kind-faced woman appeared to escort Emma to the children's playroom. We'll just be a little while, Olivia assured her daughter. Dr. Sarah wants to show you some cool games that might help me remember things better. After Emma left, a heavy silence fell between Ethan and Olivia. 10 years of separation, of lives lived apart, created a chasm that seemed impossible to bridge with mere words. Thank you, Olivia finally said, her voice quiet but steady, for finding her, for taking care of her. She's my daughter, Ethan replied simply, though I only learned that a few days ago. Olivia winced at the implied accusation. I know you must have questions, anger. You have every right. I'm not interested in blame or recriminations, Ethan said, taking the chair beside her bed. I'm interested in keeping both of you safe. Jackson Reed has been investigating your situation. He found evidence of regular payments you've been making and a break-in at your motel room the night before your accident. Alarm flashed across Olivia's face. They found us. Already? Who found you, Olivia? Who are you running from? She closed her eyes briefly, collecting herself. It's complicated and dangerous. The less you know, the safer you'll be. That's not how this works, Ethan said firmly. Not anymore. Whatever trouble you're in, we'll face it together, for Emma's sake. Olivia studied him, as if gauging his resolve. You've changed, she observed. Fatherhood will do that, apparently, even when it's thrust upon you without warning. A ghost of a smile touched her lips. I remember why I fell in love with you. That determination. When you decided something was worth fighting for, nothing could stop you. The casual mention of love, past tense but still, caught Ethan off guard. I'm still that person, he said, and I've decided that you and Emma are worth fighting for. So tell me what we're up against. Olivia sighed, resignation settling over her features. It started about 6 years ago, after I left Chicago. I was working at a small financial services firm, nothing prestigious, but it used my skills. The owner, Martin Keegan, seemed kind at first, gave me flexible hours to care for Emma, paid me well, but I soon realized the business wasn't entirely legitimate. Money, laundering, she nodded. Among other things, when I confronted Martin, he made it clear that I knew too much to simply walk away. He offered me a choice: continue working for him for a substantial bonus, or face consequences. What kind of consequences? The kind that would impact more than just me, Olivia said, her voice hardening. He knew about Emma, made sure I understood that my choices would affect her too. Fury rose in Ethan's chest. He threatened a child. Not explicitly. He was too smart for that, but the implication was clear. Olivia twisted the edge of her blanket. I took the deal, worked for him for nearly 3 years, handling transactions I knew were illegal. I told myself I was protecting Emma, that I had no choice. But you eventually left. I was building an escape plan the entire time, Olivia explained, saving money in cash, creating a new identity. When Emma was 6, I finally felt ready. We disappeared overnight, moved to Philadelphia under a new name. But he found you. It took him almost a year. By then I'd established another identity, ready to run again if necessary. But he offered a new arrangement, monthly payments in exchange for his silence. He had evidence of my involvement in his schemes, enough to send me to prison. Blackmail, Ethan confirmed grimly. I paid for 2 more years, Olivia continued. It was crippling financially, but it kept us safe, kept us together. Then 3 months ago, he demanded a lump sum, $50,000, claiming it would be the final payment. that he'd destroy all evidence and leave us alone permanently. And you believed him? Olivia's eyes met his, a flash of her old fire visible. Of course not, but I was tired, Ethan. Tired of running, tired of Emma living in motels and temporary apartments, tired of looking over my shoulder, and I had nowhere near that kind of money. So you came back to New York to... Me? Yes, she admitted quietly. Not to ask for money, but to ask you to take Emma if something happened to me, to give her the stability I couldn't. What were you planning to do? Ethan asked, a chill running through him as he considered the possibilities. I was going to meet with Martin one last time. I had information, documentation of his biggest clients, his methods, everything I'd secretly gathered over the years. Insurance, I called it. I was going to offer him a trade, the evidence for our freedom. A dangerous gamble. I was out of options, Olivia said simply. The night I had the accident, I was on my way to get medicine for a fever. I was supposed to meet Martin the next day. I left Emma hidden near your building because I thought if something went wrong, she'd be close enough to find you. The image of Olivia, feverish and desperate, strategically placing their daughter where Ethan might find her, was almost unbearable. Where is this evidence now? He asked. In a storage locker in Queens. The key is in my things from the motel. Olivia searched his face. Ethan, these people are dangerous. If they know you're involved. Let me worry about that, he said firmly. I have resources you don't. Security, legal protection, influence. This ends now, Olivia. No more running. No more fear. Her expression was a mixture of hope and disbelief. Just like that? You'll risk everything for us after what I kept from you? Not just like that, Ethan admitted. There's a lot we need to work through. Trust to rebuild. But Emma deserves better than a life on the run. And so do you. Tears welled in Olivia's eyes. I've dreamed of hearing those words for so long, but I never thought... A knock at the door interrupted her. Emma peeked in, her face brightening. When she saw them talking, Dr. Sarah said I could come back now, she announced, climbing onto the bed beside Olivia. Did you have a good talk? Are we going to be a family now? The directness of the question hung in the air between them. Ethan met Olivia's gaze over their daughter's head, seeing in her eyes the same complex emotions he felt. Hope, fear, uncertainty, and the weight of a decade's worth of choices that had led them to this moment. We're going to figure it out, Ethan promised, including both of them in his answer. Together. Emma seemed satisfied with this, snuggling closer to her mother. Good, because I like having a dad, even if he doesn't know how to make pancakes right. Olivia laughed, a genuine warm sound that transformed her face. He never could cook. Some things don't change. Some things do, Ethan countered softly. As he watched Emma chattering to her mother about the stars on her ceiling and the view from his apartment, Ethan made a silent vow. Whatever threat this Martin Keegan represented, whatever shadows, still pursued Olivia, they would face them and emerge into the light, not as the broken individuals they had been, but as the family they should have been all along. In the shadowed corner of a nondescript diner in Queens, Martin Keegan checked his watch for the third time in 5 minutes. Olivia Taylor was late, not just minutes, but days late for their scheduled meeting. His coffee had gone cold, his patience even colder. Martin was not a man who tolerated surprises or deviations from plan. His carefully constructed empire of financial manipulation relied on precision and predictability. Olivia had been both for years, first as an unwitting accomplice, then as a reliable source of monthly income. Her sudden disappearance was more than inconvenient. It was potentially dangerous. The bell above the door jingled. Martin looked up expectantly, but it was just another weary night shift worker seeking caffeine, not the dark-haired woman he was waiting for. With a sigh of irritation, he signaled for the check. This was the third location he'd staked out today. Olivia had gone completely off-grid, her phone disconnected, her motel room cleared out, her regular haunts deserted. "Something wrong with your coffee, sir?" the waitress asked as she approached with his bill. "No, just running late," Martin replied with the practiced charm that had served him well in his dealings. His unremarkable appearance, average height, thinning brown hair, wireframe glasses, was his greatest asset. No one remembered Martin Keegan, which was exactly how he preferred it. As he paid and left a modest tip, his phone vibrated with a text from his associate, Damon. Nothing at the storage facility. Moving to hospital next. Martin frowned. Hospital? This was new information. He quickly texted back, "Which hospital? Why?" The response came moments later. Brooklyn Methodist. Jane Doe admitted 5 days ago matches description. Hit and run. This complicated matters. If Olivia was injured, she might have spoken to authorities. If she'd revealed anything about his operations. Martin's carefully maintained calm began to fracture. He needed that storage locker key. More importantly, he needed to ensure Olivia's silence permanently. As he stepped out into the brisk New York evening, Martin's mind calculated risks and contingencies. Whatever happened, one thing was certain: Olivia Taylor had become a liability he could no longer afford. Ethan Blackwood's office at Blackwood Capital occupied the entire top floor of a sleek midtown tower. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered panoramic views of Manhattan, while original artwork and understated luxury conveyed success without ostentation. It was a space designed to impress clients and intimidate competitors. Today, however, it felt foreign to him, like visiting a museum dedicated to a person he used to be. As he sat behind his massive desk, reviewing security arrangements and legal documents, Ethan felt disconnected from the empire he'd spent a decade building. His assistant Victoria entered after a brief knock, her efficiency as impeccable as always. The security team has completed their assessment of both the penthouse and Ms. Taylor's hospital room. Additional personnel have been deployed at both locations. And the storage locker? Under surveillance. Our team recommends retrieving the contents as soon as possible. Ethan nodded. Have Reed handle it personally. Use the key from Olivia's belongings. Victoria made a note, then hesitated. The board is asking questions about your extended absence. Jenkins specifically has been pressing for details about this family emergency. Ethan had been expecting this. The wolves were circling, sensing weakness in his unprecedented step back from the company. Schedule a board meeting for tomorrow, he decided. I'll address their concerns directly. And what should I tell them it's regarding? Ethan considered his words carefully. Tell them I'll be discussing a temporary leadership transition, and Victoria, have legal prepare documents giving me controlling interest in my shares in the event of incapacitation. Her professional mask slipped momentarily, revealing concern. Sir, is everything all right? Just a precaution, Ethan assured her. When you have a child, you start thinking differently about contingencies. After Victoria left, Ethan turned to the window, watching the city lights flicker on as dusk descended. 2 days had passed since finding Olivia in the hospital. Her condition was improving steadily, though her memory remained fragmented. The doctors expected to release her within the week, which left the question, where would she go? The unspoken assumption between them was that she and Emma would stay at his penthouse temporarily, but they hadn't discussed long-term arrangements. For Emma's sake, Ethan wanted stability. No more motel rooms, no more midnight escapes. But creating that stability meant neutralizing the threat Martin Keegan represented. And to do that, Ethan needed to understand exactly what evidence Olivia had collected and how best to use it. His phone rang. Reed. I've retrieved the contents of the storage locker, the investigator reported. You're going to want to see this yourself, Mr. Blackwood. There's a significant amount of documentation. Financial records, transaction histories, client lists, and something else. Recordings. Dozens of them. Bring everything to my office, Ethan directed. Directly to me, no one else. Within the hour, Reed arrived with a weathered leather briefcase and a small digital recorder. The briefcase contained meticulously organized files, evidence of money laundering operations spanning 6 years, involving wealthy clients across 3 states. She was thorough, Reed observed as Ethan examined the documents. Account numbers, transaction dates, amounts, even notes about which clients knew they were laundering money. and which were unwitting participants. Enough to put Keegan away for decades, Ethan agreed. The recordings are even more damning, Reed said, indicating the digital device. Conversations between Keegan and clients, explicit discussions of illegal activities, and this, he pressed play on one recording. Martin Keegan's voice emerged, cold and threatening. Remember, Olivia, you're in this as deep as I am now. If I go down, you go down. And what happens to little Emma then? Foster care isn't kind. Two sensitive children. Olivia's response was strained but defiant. Don't you ever mention my daughter again. A dark chuckle from Keegan. She's my insurance that you'll behave. Now the Cayman transfer needs to happen tomorrow. Same procedure as last time. Ethan's hands clenched involuntarily. The casual way Keegan had used Emma as leverage, the implied threat. It took all his self-control not to put his fist through the nearest wall. Have you identified Keegan's current location? He asked Reed, his voice dangerously quiet. Working on it. He maintains multiple residences under different names, but we've got a lead on an associate of his, Damon Wells. He's been asking questions about Olivia at hospitals across the city. Ethan's blood ran cold. They know she's alive. They're looking for her. It appears so. I've alerted hospital security, but it might be wise to move Miss Taylor as soon as medically advisable. After Reed left with instructions to continue, tracking Keegan's associates, Ethan called Dr. Patel at Brooklyn Methodist. I'm concerned about potential security issues, he explained. How soon could Olivia be safely released? She's recovering well, the doctor said. Physically, she could leave as early as tomorrow, though I'd recommend continued outpatient therapy for her memory issues. I'll arrange for private medical care, Ethan assured her, and I'll be there tomorrow morning to handle the discharge paperwork. His next call was to the penthouse, where a security team was watching over Emma. The girl had been disappointed not to visit her mother today, but Ethan had invented a story about special tests the doctors needed to run. Everything okay there? He asked the head of security. All quiet, Mr. Blackwood. The young lady is currently teaching Johnson how to play Go Fish. He's losing badly. Despite the tension of the situation, Ethan smiled. Emma's resilience continued to amaze him. I'm on my way back, he said. Have the team prep for 2 additional residents starting tomorrow. As he gathered the evidence from Olivia's storage locker, Ethan considered his options. The most straightforward approach would be turning everything over to the FBI. The documentation was comprehensive enough to trigger a major investigation, but that would inevitably implicate Olivia as well, despite her coercion. The legal battle could drag on for years, casting a shadow over Emma's childhood. No, there had to be a cleaner solution, one that eliminated the threat permanently without exposing Olivia or Emma to further trauma. As his car navigated the evening traffic toward his penthouse, Ethan made another call, this one to Daniel Harrington, his former roommate from Harvard, and now a federal prosecutor with the Southern District of New York. Danny, it's Ethan Blackwood. I need a favor. Off the record. Olivia sat by the window of her hospital room, watching darkness fall over Brooklyn. The bruises on her face had faded to yellowish smudges, and the splitting headaches had subsided to a dull throb. Her body was healing faster than her memory, which still contained troubling gaps. She remembered Emma with perfect clarity, every milestone, every struggle, every moment of their life together. She remembered Ethan too, both the passionate relationship they'd shared a decade ago and the bitter argument that ended it. But the recent past remained fragmentary. She knew she'd been running from Martin Keegan, knew she'd been making monthly payments to keep him at bay. She remembered deciding to confront him with evidence she'd gathered, but the specifics of that evidence and exactly what she'd planned to do with it remained frustratingly out of reach. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. Expecting a nurse for her evening medication, Olivia called, "Come in." Instead, a man she didn't recognize entered. Average height, thinning brown hair, wire-frame glasses. Nothing remarkable about him, yet his presence sent a chill of instinctive fear through her. "Hello, Olivia," he said, his voice triggering a cascade of fragmented memories. "You missed our appointment." Martin Keegan. The name surfaced from the fog of her amnesia, bringing with it a wave of terror. "How did you find me?" she asked, her hand moving discreetly toward the call button. Hospitals record descriptions of unidentified patients. You'd be surprised how many people are willing to share that information for the right price. He stepped closer. "Where is it, Olivia? Where is what?" "Don't play games. The evidence you claim to have, the insurance." His voice hardened. "I want it all, the documents, the recordings, everything." Olivia's mind raced. She knew she'd hidden evidence somewhere, but the location eluded her. "I don't remember," she said truthfully. "The accident. I have amnesia." Keegan studied, her face apparently deciding she was telling the truth. "Convenient," he said coldly, "but ultimately irrelevant. You've become a liability, Olivia. Too unpredictable." Her fingers found the call button, pressed it desperately. Keegan noticed and smiled thinly. "Your nurse is on break, and the security guard Blackwood hired is currently occupied with a distraction my associate arranged." The mention of Ethan's name sent a jolt through her. "You know about Ethan?" "I make it my business to know everything," Keegan replied, "including the fact that your daughter is staying in his penthouse. Such a convenient arrangement. Father and daughter reunited after all these years." The implied threat to Emma triggered something in Olivia, not just fear but rage, a protective fury that cleared the fog from her mind. "The storage locker," she said suddenly, the memory crystallizing. "In Queens. You'll never find it without me." This was a gamble. She had no way of knowing if Ethan had already retrieved the evidence. But it seemed to work. Keegan hesitated. "Get dressed," he ordered. "You're coming with me." "I can't leave," Olivia protested. "I'm still under medical care." "You'll be under something far worse if you don't cooperate," Keegan warned. "Now, move." As Olivia slowly gathered her personal items, her mind worked frantically. If she could stall until the nurse returned, or until Ethan arrived for his evening visit. But Keegan was impatient. "2 minutes," he said, checking his watch. "Then we leave, ready or not." The hospital room door opened suddenly, but it wasn't a nurse or security guard. It was Damon Wells, Keegan's associate, a large man with a shaved head and cold eyes. "We've got a problem," he told Keegan in a low voice. Blackwood just entered the building with 2 men who looked like federal agents. Keegan's expression darkened. "How would he—" He turned to Olivia, fury replacing his usual calculated calm. "You've been playing me, stalling." "I don't know what you're talking about," Olivia insisted, though hope surged within her. Ethan was here, with federal agents. Somehow he'd found the evidence on his own. Keegan grabbed her arm roughly. "Change of plans. We're leaving now through the service corridor." As he dragged her toward the door, Olivia's newfound clarity of mind presented an opportunity. She deliberately stumbled, falling against the rolling tray table and sending it crashing to the floor with a tremendous clatter. The noise brought an immediate response, footsteps running down the hall, voices calling out. Keegan's grip tightened painfully on her arm as he tried to pull her toward the door. But Olivia planted her feet, fighting with a strength born of desperation. "Help!" she screamed. "Help me!" The door burst open. Ethan stood there, flanked by 2 stern-faced men in suits. His eyes took in the scene in an instant, Keegan grasping Olivia's arm, Wells blocking the service door. "Federal agents," one of the suited men announced, drawing a weapon. "Release her and put your hands up." For a moment, Keegan seemed about to comply. Then, with shocking swiftness, he pulled Olivia in front of him like a shield. "Back off," he warned, "or she gets hurt." Time seemed to slow down. Olivia saw Ethan's face transform with a cold fury she'd never witnessed before, not even during their worst arguments. He took a deliberate step forward. "Let her go, Keegan," he said, his voice deadly quiet. "It's over. We have everything, the documents, the recordings, the client lists. The FBI is raiding your office as we speak." Uncertainty flickered across Keegan's face. "You're bluffing." "The offshore accounts in the Caymans," Ethan continued. "The shell companies in Delaware. The property. In Belize, we have it all. The only question now is whether you want to add assault and kidnapping to the charges. Something in his tone, the absolute certainty, the implicit threat, made Keegan's resolve waver. His grip on Olivia loosened. Slightly. It was all the opening she needed. With a sudden twist, she broke free, ducking away as the federal agents moved in. In seconds, both Keegan and Wells were on the floor, handcuffed and subdued. Ethan was at her side instantly, his arms encircling her protectively. "Are you hurt?" "No," Olivia managed, though she was trembling with reaction. "How did you know? How did you find the evidence?" "Reed found your storage locker key among your belongings from the motel," Ethan explained. "And Danny, one of the agents, is an old friend from college. When I showed him what you'd collected on Keegan, he arranged an unofficial operation." As the agents led Keegan and Wells away, Olivia sagged against Ethan, the adrenaline leaving her system as quickly as it had come. "It's really over?" she asked, hardly daring to believe it. "He can't threaten us anymore." "It's over," Ethan confirmed, his arms tightening around her. "No more running, no more fear." The simple words, spoken with such conviction, broke something inside Olivia. Years of tension, of constant vigilance, of protecting Emma from threats she couldn't fully understand. It all released in a flood of tears against Ethan's chest. He held her silently, one hand stroking her hair, until the storm passed. When she finally looked up, his expression was tender but determined. "Let's take you home," he said softly. "Emma's waiting." Home. Such a simple word, yet one that had eluded Olivia for so long. Not a place, but a feeling of safety, of belonging. "Yes," she whispered. "Let's go home." Homecoming proved more complicated than a simple journey from hospital to penthouse. Though Dr. Patel had agreed to release Olivia given the security concerns, she insisted on a detailed outpatient care plan. By the time the paperwork was completed and a private nurse arranged for follow-up visits, evening had fallen over the city. During the car ride to Manhattan, Olivia sat close to Ethan, his arm protectively around her shoulders. The evening's events had left her physically and emotionally drained, yet oddly energized. For the first time in years, she felt the weight of constant vigilance lifting from her shoulders. "I keep expecting to wake up," she admitted quietly, "to find myself back in some dingy motel room planning our next escape." Ethan's arm tightened around her. "This is real, Olivia. Keegan and Wells are in federal custody. Danny's team is executing search warrants as we speak. They won't be threatening you or Emma ever again." She nodded against his shoulder, allowing herself to absorb the reality of their safety. But as the car approached the gleaming tower where Ethan lived, a new anxiety emerged. "What now?" she asked, voicing the question that had been hovering between them. "For us, I mean. The three of us." Ethan's expression grew thoughtful. "Honestly? I don't know. A week ago, I was a solitary workaholic with an empty penthouse and a company that consumed my entire life. Now I'm a father to a 9-year-old girl and—" he trailed off, clearly uncertain how to define what he was to Olivia. "And the ex who kept your child from you for a decade," she suggested, a hint of bitterness in her voice. "No," Ethan said firmly. "That's not how I see it. You made choices. I can't fully understand, but I wasn't the man you needed me to be back then. We both have regrets, Olivia. What matters now is what we build from here." The car pulled into the private garage beneath Ethan's building, where a security team awaited them. As they rode the elevator to the penthouse, Olivia fought to control her nerves. She was about to enter Ethan Blackwood's world, a realm of wealth and privilege so far removed from the life she and Emma had been living that it felt like crossing into another dimension. When the elevator doors opened directly into the penthouse, Emma was waiting, bouncing on her toes with barely contained excitement. She launched herself at Olivia, nearly knocking her off balance. "Mom, you're finally home. I've been waiting forever." Olivia knelt to embrace her daughter properly, inhaling the familiar scent of her hair, cataloguing the subtle changes a week apart had wrought. Had Emma grown taller? Her face seemed thinner, more defined, or perhaps it was just the effect of proper nutrition and regular sleep. "I've missed you so much," Olivia whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "I'm so sorry. I left you alone." "It's okay," Emma assured her with the remarkable resilience of childhood. "Ethan found me, and now we're all together." The simple faith in her daughter's statement brought fresh tears to Olivia's eyes. If only adult relationships could be mended so easily, with such unquestioning forgiveness. Emma took her mother's hand, practically vibrating with eagerness. "I have to show you everything. My room has stars on the ceiling, and there's a bathtub bigger than our whole bathroom. At the motel, and the refrigerator is always full of food." As Emma led her on a tour of the penthouse, Olivia was struck by evidence of how thoroughly her daughter had integrated into Ethan's life in just 1 week. Emma's drawings adorned the refrigerator. A child-sized desk had been set up in a corner of the massive living area, littered with art supplies and books. The guest bedroom had been transformed with colorful bedding, a small bookshelf, and the promised glow-in-the-dark stars. Most revealing were the photographs recently placed in simple frames around the apartment. Emma laughing in Central Park, Emma and Ethan building a snowman on the terrace, Emma concentrating on a chess game with Victoria. Small moments of connection, carefully preserved. "Ethan said we could paint my room any color I want," Emma was saying as she showed off her current sleeping arrangements. "I'm thinking purple, but maybe blue would be better. What do you think?" The casual presumption that they would be staying long enough to redecorate caught Olivia off guard. She glanced at Ethan, who had been following their tour quietly. "We don't want to impose," she began carefully. "It's not an imposition," Ethan countered immediately. "You and Emma are welcome to stay as long as necessary. There's more than enough space." The unspoken question hung between them. How long was necessary? Until Olivia recovered fully? Until she found a job and a new place to live? Or was Ethan suggesting something more permanent? Emma, oblivious to the undercurrents between her parents, continued her enthusiastic tour. "And wait till you see the view at night. You can see the whole city. It's like being on top of the world." As Emma pulled her toward the floor-to-ceiling windows, Olivia caught sight of their reflection, mother and daughter silhouetted against the glittering Manhattan skyline. Behind them stood Ethan, slightly apart, watching them with an expression that combined tenderness and uncertainty in equal measure. They looked like a family, felt like a family, but were they? After dinner, delivered from a high-end restaurant with options that made Emma's eyes widen with delight, the practical matters of bedtime routines emerged. Emma, despite her excitement, was clearly exhausted, her eyelids drooping as she fought to stay awake. "I think it's time for someone to get ready for bed," Olivia suggested gently. Emma's lower lip jutted out in a familiar pout. "But you just got here. I don't want to sleep yet." "I'll still be here in the morning," Olivia promised, smoothing her daughter's hair, "and the next morning, and the one after that." "Promise?" Emma asked, a hint of her old insecurity surfacing. "I promise." Olivia's throat tightened with emotion. No more separations. This seemed to satisfy Emma, who allowed herself to be guided through her bedtime routine. As Olivia helped her change into pajamas, new ones she noted with constellations printed on soft cotton, she marveled at how quickly children adapted. Emma seemed perfectly at home in this luxurious setting, a far cry from the transient existence they'd led for years. "Ethan reads me a story every night," Emma informed her as she climbed into bed. "Sometimes two, if I ask really nicely." On cue, Ethan appeared in the doorway, a book in hand. "I thought we could continue where we left off last night," he suggested. "Unless you'd prefer to read to Emma tonight," he added to Olivia. "Maybe we could take turns," Olivia suggested, touched by his consideration. "I'd like to hear what story has captured my daughter's imagination." The three of them settled on Emma's bed, Olivia on one side, Ethan on the other, with Emma nestled between them. Ethan began reading from The Secret Garden, his deep voice bringing the characters to life. Olivia watched her daughter's face, seeing the same enchantment there that she had witnessed countless times during their own reading sessions in motel rooms and temporary apartments. By the time Ethan finished the chapter, Emma was fighting to keep her eyes open. "One more," she pleaded sleepily. "Tomorrow," Olivia promised, leaning down to kiss her forehead. "Sleep well, my brave girl." Night, Mum. Night, Dad, Emma murmured, her eyes finally closing. Dad. The word hung in the air, simple, yet profound. It was the first time Emma had directly called Ethan Dad, and its effect on him was visible. Momentary stillness, followed by a softening around his eyes. "Good night, Emma," he said quietly, placing a gentle kiss on her hair before rising from the bed. They left the room together, Olivia carefully pulling the door nearly closed, leaving it open just a crack as Emma preferred. In the hallway they stood awkwardly for a moment, the intimacy of the shared bedtime ritual highlighting the undefined nature of their own relationship. "She called me Dad," Ethan said finally, his voice reflecting wonder and uncertainty in equal measure. "Is that okay?" Olivia asked. "If it's too soon—" "No," he interrupted. It's more than okay. I just never expected—" He trailed off, collecting himself. "I never expected any of this, Olivia. A week ago I didn't know I had a daughter. Now I can't imagine my life without her." The raw honesty in his voice moved her deeply. "She's pretty easy to love," Olivia said softly. "Like her mother," Ethan replied, meeting her eyes directly. The simple statement sent a jolt through Olivia. Was he referring to the past, the love they had once shared, or suggesting something about the present or even the future? Before she could formulate a response, Ethan gestured toward the living area. "You must be exhausted, but I thought you might want to talk. There are some decisions we need to make." In the spacious living room, with its panoramic view of the nighttime city, Olivia curled into one corner of a massive sectional sofa. Ethan poured 2 glasses of wine, offering one to her before taking a seat at a respectful distance. "First things first," he began. "Your safety. Keegan and Wells are in custody, but the investigation is ongoing. Danny advised that you and Emma remain here under protection until they've rounded up all of Keegan's associates." Olivia nodded, sipping her wine. "How long will that take?" "A few weeks, most likely, possibly longer." Ethan hesitated. "Which brings us to the question of after." "After," Olivia repeated. Such a small word for such enormous implications. "I want Emma in my life," Ethan said, his tone leaving no room for doubt. "I've missed 9 years already. I don't want to miss another day." "I wouldn't keep her from you," Olivia assured him. "Not now that you know about her. We could work out a custody arrangement." "I'm not talking about visitation weekends or split holidays," Ethan interrupted, leaning forward. "I'm talking about being a real father to her, being present for the everyday moments, not just special occasions." "What exactly are you suggesting, Ethan?" He took a deep breath. "I'm suggesting we find a way to co-parent effectively, which means living close enough that Emma doesn't feel shuttled between 2 separate lives." Olivia considered this. "You mean I should find an apartment nearby, in this neighborhood?" She gestured toward the window, indicating the exclusive Upper East Side buildings surrounding them. "On a single mother's salary? I would provide financial support, of course," Ethan said quickly. "For both of you." Pride flared within Olivia, the same stubborn independence that had prevented her from seeking his help all these years. "I don't want your money, Ethan." "It's not about you," he countered. "It's about Emma, about giving her the stability she deserves after years of upheaval." This argument struck home. Hadn't that been Olivia's driving motivation in coming to New York, in seeking out Ethan after all this time, to give Emma a better life? "There's another option," Ethan continued, when she remained silent. "You and Emma could stay here. This place is far too big for one person. We could establish boundaries, maintain separate spaces when needed." Olivia stared at him, stunned by the suggestion. "You want us to live here, with you? As what? Roommates?" Ethan ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration she remembered from their past. "I don't know what to call it, Olivia. Co-parents, friends, we're connected through Emma, whether we planned it or not. And I think we owe it to her to at least try to create a stable, united front." The proposal was simultaneously generous and terrifying. Living under the same roof as Ethan would mean confronting their complicated history daily. navigating the shifting currents of old hurts and new realities. "What about your life?" Olivia asked. "Your privacy? Don't you date?" The last question emerged more hesitantly than she intended. A faint smile touched Ethan's lips. "My life for the past decade has been work, more work, and occasional social events that were really just extensions of work. Privacy hasn't been an issue because there's been no one to share it with." "So no serious relationships?" "None," he confirmed. "There was never enough time, or so I told myself. The truth is, after you left," he paused, gathering his thoughts, "after our argument, I threw myself into building the company. Success became my relationship, and it's been a cold companion." The honesty of this admission created a moment of genuine connection between them, a glimpse of the open communication they'd once shared. "What about you?" Ethan asked. "Has there been anyone significant in your life?" Olivia shook her head. Between raising Emma and staying one step ahead of Keegan, romance wasn't exactly a priority. There were a few brief relationships, but nothing that lasted. No one I trusted enough to bring into our complicated situation. They sat in companionable silence for a moment, each absorbing the revelations about the other's solitary decade. "We're quite a pair, aren't we?" Olivia observed with a sad smile, "both alone for very different reasons." "Not alone anymore," Ethan pointed out. "We have Emma, and perhaps each other. In whatever capacity makes sense for us now." The suggestion hung in the air between them, laden with possibility. Olivia found herself torn between caution and hope. The rational part of her warned against rushing into any arrangement that might later complicate Emma's life if it didn't work out. Yet another part, the part that remembered what it felt like to be truly connected to someone, yearned to explore the fragile new understanding forming between them. "I need time," she said finally. "To heal, to think clearly. Everything is happening so fast." Ethan nodded, respecting her need for space. "Of course, there's no rush to decide anything permanent. For now, focus on recovering, on reconnecting with Emma. The rest can wait." As they continued talking into the night, touching on practical matters and sharing stories of the years apart, Olivia felt something shifting between them, not a return to what they had been, but the tentative emergence of something new, something that acknowledged their shared history while creating space for who they had become. Later, as Ethan showed her to the second guest bedroom, now prepared with fresh linens and a few basic necessities Victoria had thoughtfully arranged, Olivia paused in the doorway. "Thank you," she said simply, "not just for the room or for finding Emma, for believing in me when you had every reason not to." Ethan's expression softened. "I've spent 10 years building a life based on calculation and control. Finding Emma, finding you, has reminded me that the most important things can't be managed by spreadsheets and strategic planning." "And how does that make you feel?" Olivia asked, genuinely curious about how this methodical, driven man was processing such a fundamental disruption to his carefully ordered existence. Ethan considered the question seriously. "Terrified," he admitted with unexpected candor, "and more alive than I've felt in years." The simple honesty of his answer resonated deeply with Olivia. She too felt balanced between fear and exhilaration, between the safety of old patterns and the risky potential of new beginnings. "Good night, Ethan," she said softly. "Good night, Olivia." He stepped back, allowing her the privacy of her new space. "Welcome home." As she closed the door, Olivia leaned against it, overwhelmed by the day's events and the uncertain future ahead. Home. Such a complicated word for someone who had lived in 20 different places in the past 9 years. Yet as she heard Ethan's footsteps retreating down the hall, pausing briefly at Emma's door to check on their sleeping daughter, Olivia recognized the truth in his words. Home wasn't about the luxury of the penthouse or the security it provided. Home was about the connections being rebuilt within these walls, between mother and daughter, father and daughter, and perhaps someday between the two people who had created that precious life together. For the first time in years, Olivia allowed herself to imagine a future not defined by fear and flight, but by growth and possibility. It was terrifying, exhilarating, and entirely unexpected, just like finding her way back to Ethan Blackwood after all these years. 3 months later, spring had transformed Manhattan from its winter austerity to a vibrant landscape of renewal. Central Park bloomed with cherry blossoms and fresh greenery, while the city's residents emerged from their cold-weather hibernation with a collective energy that seemed to pulse through the streets. In Ethan Blackwood's penthouse, no longer the sterile showcase of success it had once been, similar transformations had taken place. The formerly minimalist space now displayed evidence of family life everywhere. Emma's artwork adorned the walls, family photographs lined the shelves, and comfortable, child-friendly furniture had replaced some of the more austere designer pieces. This particular Saturday morning, Ethan stood at the kitchen island, attempting to master the art of pancake making under Emma's critical supervision. "You flipped it too early," she observed as another misshapen pancake joined the growing stack of culinary experiments. "Mum says you have to wait for the bubbles to form all over." "Your mother," Ethan replied with mock seriousness, "has unreasonably high pancake standards." "I heard that," Olivia called from the living room, where she was arranging flowers in a vase. "And yet you'll notice who makes the pancakes every Sunday." Their easy banter filled the space with warmth, a testament to the careful relationship they had been building over the past months. The arrangement they'd initially described as temporary had gradually evolved into something more permanent, though neither had explicitly acknowledged the shift. They functioned as a family unit in many ways, sharing meals, attending Emma's school events together, establishing routines and traditions. Yet Ethan and Olivia maintained separate bedrooms and a careful emotional distance, focused primarily on providing Emma with the stability she deserved. For Emma, the transition had been remarkably smooth. After years of constant disruption, she had blossomed in the security of having both parents present and involved in her life. Her academic performance at the private school Ethan had enrolled her in was stellar, and she had even made several close friends, a luxury she'd never been able to afford during their years on the run. The professional changes had been equally significant. Ethan had restructured his role at Blackwood Capital, delegating day-to-day operations to allow for a more balanced schedule. He still maintained ultimate control, but no longer spent 12-hour days at the office. Instead, he worked from home, several days a week, making himself available for school pickups and family dinners. Olivia, once her legal situation was resolved, with immunity granted in exchange for her testimony against Keegan and his network, had taken a position with a non-profit focused on financial literacy for underserved communities. The role utilized her financial expertise while aligning with her ethical principles, providing a sense of purpose she had missed during her years of survival-focused existence. Life had settled into a rhythm that none of them could have imagined 4 months earlier. Yet beneath the surface of their domestic harmony, unaddressed currents continued to flow. "Dad, can we go to the museum after breakfast?" Emma asked, inspecting the latest pancake with critical approval. "They have a new space exhibit that opened yesterday." "Sounds perfect," Ethan agreed, still marveling at how naturally Emma had adapted to calling him Dad, a title he cherished more than any professional achievement. "Olivia, will you join us?" There was a brief hesitation before Olivia answered. "Actually, I have plans this afternoon. Rain check?" "Rain?" Ethan glanced up, noting the slight flush on her cheeks. "Sure, anything interesting?" "Just meeting a friend for coffee," she replied, avoiding his gaze as she arranged the last of the flowers. A friend. The ambiguity of the term wasn't lost on Ethan, who felt an uncomfortable twist in his stomach. They had never explicitly discussed dating other people, having focused entirely on establishing a stable co-parenting relationship. Yet as the months passed and their living arrangements solidified, the question of their romantic futures had become an increasingly apparent elephant in the room. "Pancakes are ready," Emma announced, pulling Ethan from his thoughts. "Mum, come eat before they get cold." As they gathered around the table, a new round one that replaced Ethan's austere glass rectangle, the conversation shifted to lighter topics. Emma's upcoming science project, plans for summer vacation, the latest book they were reading together as a family. Yet Ethan found his attention repeatedly drawn to Olivia, noting the care she had taken with her appearance today, the floral dress that highlighted her recovered health, the subtle makeup that emphasized her natural beauty. For a casual coffee with a friend, she looked remarkably put together. After breakfast, Olivia retreated to her room to finish getting ready, while Emma helped Ethan clear the table. "Is Mom going on a date?" Emma asked suddenly, displaying the perceptiveness that often caught both parents off guard. Ethan nearly dropped the plate he was rinsing. "What makes you ask that?" Emma shrugged with the casual insight of childhood. "She's wearing her special perfume, and she changed her outfit 3 times last night." "I see." Ethan struggled to maintain a neutral expression. "Well, if she is, that would be perfectly fine. Your mom deserves to have friends and people in her life who make her happy." "But don't you make her happy?" Emma persisted, her brow furrowing. "And me? Aren't we enough?" The question cut straight to Ethan's heart, articulating the doubt he hadn't allowed himself to acknowledge. "Of course we make her happy, Emma, but adults sometimes need different kinds of relationships in their lives. It's complicated." "Grown-ups always say that when they don't want to explain something," Emma observed, with devastating accuracy. Before Ethan could formulate a response, Olivia emerged from her room, looking elegant in a simple spring dress and cardigan. "I should be back around 4, she said, grabbing her purse from the counter. "Have fun at the museum, you two." She bent to kiss Emma's forehead, then hesitated awkwardly before offering Ethan a quick smile. The moment highlighted the strange limbo of their relationship, more than co-parents, less than partners, existing in an undefined space of their own creation. After Olivia left, Ethan and Emma spent a pleasant morning at the American Museum of Natural History, exploring the new space exhibition with the enthusiastic curiosity that characterized their father-daughter outings. Yet Ethan found his thoughts repeatedly drifting to Olivia and her mysterious coffee date. "Dad, you're not listening," Emma complained, as they sat in the museum cafe sharing a giant cookie. "I asked if we could get a telescope for the terrace." "Sorry." "Sweetheart," Ethan apologized, focusing on his daughter's eager face. "A telescope sounds like an excellent idea. We could stargaze on clear nights." "That's what I was saying," Emma said, rolling her eyes with the exasperation only a 9-year-old could muster. "Are you worried about Mom's date?" Ethan nearly choked on his coffee. "What makes you think I'm worried?" "You keep checking your phone and you've got that wrinkle between your eyebrows that appears when you're thinking about something complicated," she demonstrated, scrunching her face in a surprisingly accurate impression of his concerned expression. Despite his internal turmoil, Ethan laughed. "You're too observant for your own good, Emma Blackwood." The use of his surname for Emma, a recent legal change they had all agreed upon, still filled him with a profound sense of rightness. Whatever happened between him and Olivia, Emma was his daughter in every way that mattered. "If you like Mom, you should tell her," Emma continued, licking chocolate from her fingers. "That's what Maddie's dad did when he wanted to marry her, Mom. He made a special dinner and everything." "It's not that simple," Ethan began, then caught himself using the very phrase Emma had just criticized. "Your mom and I have a complicated history, Emma. We're focused on being good parents to you, right now." "But you still like her," Emma persisted. "I can tell, and I think she likes you too." "Oh, you do you?" Ethan asked, amused despite himself by his daughter's matchmaking efforts. "Definitely. She smiles different when you're around. And sometimes she watches you when you're not looking." This observation struck Ethan more powerfully than he expected. Had he been so focused on maintaining appropriate boundaries that he'd missed signals from Olivia herself? "Well, relationship advice from a 9-year-old aside," he said, tousling Emma's hair affectionately, "we should head home. I promised to help you with that science project today." As they left the museum, Ethan found himself contemplating Emma's insights with growing seriousness. The careful distance he and Olivia had maintained, sleeping in separate rooms, focusing conversations on Emma and practical matters, avoiding any discussion of their personal feelings, had seemed the wisest course during their fragile rebuilding process. But what if that caution was no longer serving its purpose? What if, in their determination to avoid complicating Emma's life, they were actually denying her the chance to see her parents truly happy? By the time they returned to the penthouse, Ethan had made a decision. The undefined limbo they had been occupying couldn't continue indefinitely. For Emma's sake and their own, they needed clarity about their relationship, whatever form it might take. Olivia returned just after 4, as promised, her expression guarded when she noticed Ethan waiting for her in the living room. Emma had disappeared into her room to work on her science project, leaving them alone. "How was the museum?" Olivia asked, setting down her purse. "Educational," Ethan replied with a small smile. "Emma wants a telescope for the terrace, and possibly her own space shuttle." Olivia laughed, some of the tension leaving her shoulders. "Sounds like a typical outing with you. You always encourage her most ambitious ideas." "Someone has to balance out your practical influence," Ethan countered good-naturedly. Then, shifting to a more serious tone, he asked, "How was your coffee?" Olivia's slight hesitation was telling. "It was fine. Nice to catch up." "An old friend?" Ethan pressed, gently. "Actually, yes, Michael Chen. We worked together in Chicago. Before everything, he's in New York now working for an investment firm. We've been emailing occasionally since the Keegan situation was resolved." "I see." Ethan maintained a carefully neutral expression. "And is this likely to become a regular occurrence, these catch-ups?" Olivia studied him, her perceptiveness as sharp as their daughter's. "Are you asking if I'm dating him, Ethan?" "I suppose I am," he admitted, "which I have no right to do, I realize. Our arrangement doesn't include restrictions on either of our personal lives." "No, it doesn't," Olivia agreed quietly. Then, after a moment's consideration, she added, "Michael asked me out. A proper date, not just coffee. I told him I needed to think about it." The confirmation sent a jolt of something like panic through Ethan. The abstract possibility of Olivia dating was suddenly concrete, immediate. "I see," he said again, struggling to maintain his composure. "And what are you thinking?" Olivia sighed, moving to sit on the couch across from him. "I'm thinking that we've created something valuable here. Stability for Emma, a functional co-parenting relationship. Dating anyone would complicate that." "It would," Ethan agreed. "On the other hand," she continued, meeting his gaze directly, "we've both put our personal lives on hold for years. Me for Emma's safety, you for your company. At some point, don't we deserve to pursue our own happiness?" The demand question hung in the air between them, laden with unspoken implications. Ethan leaned forward, choosing his words carefully. "What if our happiness isn't separate from this life we've built? What if it's right here, but we've been too cautious to acknowledge it?" Olivia's breath caught. "Ethan, I've respected the boundaries we established," he continued, "focused on being Emma's father, on creating a stable home. But Emma said something today that made me realize we've been avoiding the most important conversation." "What did she say?" Olivia asked softly. "She asked if you and I like each other." Ethan smiled slightly at the simplicity of a child's perspective. "And it made me realize we've never actually discussed how we feel about each other now as the people we've become." Olivia's expression softened. "We've both changed so much. The people we were 10 years ago aren't the people we are today," Ethan finished. "But maybe that's a good thing. Maybe we needed to become these versions of ourselves to have a real chance." "A chance at what, exactly?" Olivia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Ethan moved to sit beside her on the couch, close, but not touching. "A chance at being more than Emma's co-parents, at exploring what might still exist between us." Olivia looked down at her hands, which were clasped tightly in her lap. "I've been afraid to even consider that possibility. After everything that happened between us, after keeping Emma from you for so long, I wouldn't blame you if you never fully trusted me again." "Trust isn't static, Olivia. It can be rebuilt day by day." Ethan reached out, gently covering her hands with one of his. "These past 3 months, watching you with Emma, seeing how you've rebuilt your life after everything Keegan put you through, my respect for you has only grown." She looked up, her eyes bright with unshed tears. And what about the argument that drove us apart in the first place? My ethical concerns about that merger, your focus on profit above all. Have your business principles changed? They have, Ethan admitted. Watching you stand firm on your principles, even at great personal cost, made me reevaluate my own. The company operates differently now, more transparently, more ethically. It took me too long to see that success without integrity is ultimately hollow. A single tear escaped, tracking down Olivia's cheek. And you're not just saying this because of Emma? Because having her mother and father together would be convenient. There's nothing convenient about my feelings for you, Olivia, Ethan said with a quiet laugh. They're messy and complicated and terrifying, but they're real. I think they always have been, even when I tried to bury them in work and achievement. I never stopped loving you, Olivia confessed suddenly, even when I was furious with you, even when I convinced myself we were better off apart. I kept your photograph, told Emma stories about you without naming you. You were always there in the background of our lives. The simple declaration broke something open between them, a door they had both been afraid to unlock. Ethan reached up to brush away her tear with his thumb, his touch lingering on her cheek. So where does that leave us? He asked softly. Scared, Olivia admitted with a shaky laugh. At least I am. Starting over seems so risky, especially with Emma in the mix. If it didn't work out, we take it slowly, Ethan suggested. No. Grand declarations or dramatic changes. Just permission to acknowledge what we're feeling, to stop pretending we're only Emma's parents and nothing more. Olivia nodded, leaning slightly into his touch. I told Michael I couldn't have dinner. With him. Not because of Emma or our living arrangement, but because my heart wasn't available. I think it hasn't been for a very long time. The admission filled Ethan with a warmth that had nothing to do with pride or triumph, and everything to do with the second chance they were cautiously offering each other. Does this mean you're dating now? Emma's voice came from the hallway, where she stood with an expression of barely contained hope. Emma Grace Blackwood, were you eavesdropping? Olivia asked, trying and failing to sound stern. Only a little bit, Emma admitted, approaching them with an innocent smile that fooled neither parent. So are you. Ethan and Olivia exchanged glances, a silent communication passing between them. We're exploring the possibility, Ethan said carefully, taking things slow, seeing where they lead. Emma rolled her eyes dramatically. Grown-ups make everything so complicated. If you like each other, you should just be together. Wise words from the relationship expert, Olivia teased, opening her arms for Emma to join them on the couch. But some things are worth taking time to get right. As Emma settled between them, Ethan was struck by the perfect symmetry of the moment. Their daughter, literally and figuratively, at the center of the family they were carefully rebuilding. How about we all make dinner together tonight, he suggested. I think this calls for a celebration. Can we have ice cream for dessert? Emma asked immediately. I think that can be arranged, Olivia agreed, her eyes meeting Ethan's over their daughter's head. The look they shared contained multitudes, acknowledgement of the long, difficult road that had brought them to this point, appreciation for the present moment of connection, and cautious hope for the future they might build together. Later that evening, after Emma had gone to bed, Ethan and Olivia stood together on the terrace, watching the lights of the city. Below, the spring air carried a hint of promise, mirroring the tentative new beginning unfolding between them. Are we crazy to try this again? Olivia asked softly, her shoulder brushing against his. Probably, Ethan admitted with a smile. But I think we've both learned that the most worthwhile things in life involve some risk. Slowly, giving her every opportunity to pull away, he reached for her hand. Their fingers intertwined, the simple contact sending a current of awareness through them both. I like the people we've become, Olivia said, squeezing his hand gently. Imperfect and battle-scarred, but wiser. I like us too, Ethan agreed, all three of us together. As if on cue, they heard the soft padding of footsteps behind them. Emma appeared in her pajamas, clutching her stuffed rabbit. I can't sleep, she announced, though her lack of grogginess suggested she hadn't tried very hard. "Can I stay up with you guys for a little while?" Ethan and Olivia exchanged knowing glances, neither fooled by the transparent ploy, but neither willing to send her away either. "Just for a few minutes," Olivia conceded, opening her free arm to welcome Emma. As their daughter snuggled between them, gazing up at the few stars visible through the city's light pollution, Ethan felt a sense of completion he had never experienced in all his years of professional success. This moment, these people, was what truly mattered. "Look," Emma pointed excitedly toward the night sky, "a shooting star. Make a wish." Ethan closed his eyes briefly, not to wish for anything, but to imprint this moment in his memory. When he opened them again, he found Olivia watching him, her expression soft with understanding. No words were necessary. The family they had formed, initially through chance and necessity, now through choice and love, was wish enough. In the photograph taken a few days later, the three of them stand on the terrace, backlit by the golden glow of sunset. Emma is front and center, beaming with the unrestrained joy of childhood. Behind her, Ethan and Olivia stand close together, his arm around her shoulders, her head tilted slightly toward him. Next to this new image, on the mantel of their increasingly warm and personal home, sits the old photograph Emma had carried in her pocket that cold winter night, the one that had led her to her father and set in motion the reunion of a family once broken by pride and circumstance. One image captures a past preserved, despite all odds,